In this video, we're going to look at the town property list. In Teragon, the town property list defines how each town type is set up. There are two main commands for the town property list. The first is read town property list. This is what you see here, where the entire list is in your preset and you can edit it right from the preset itself. The second is import town property list, which lets you import a text file version of the property list. That is useful if you are importing a list from someone else, such as from a mod or POI pack. For example, if you are importing a town property list from Compo Pack, you would use the import town property list command rather than trying to type it all in or copy and paste it into the read town property list command. You can use a combination of both read and import, depending on what you want to accomplish. The town property list uses these parameters. Some of those parameters are optional and some are required. The first parameter is the town name. This is what you want to call the town. This name can be anything you want. It will not be seen in the game. It is only for your reference when creating the town, so you know what each town type is. The default presets use three town types: regular town, small town, and Old West town. As you can see, no spaces are used. It uses underscore instead. When you're creating the town name, you cannot use a space in the name. The next two are min size and max size. These are the minimum and maximum sizes for that town type. For example, regular town, the minimum size is 7. This means you will never have a regular town that has fewer than 7 tiles. The max size for regular town is any. If you use any instead of a number, then that means that the max town size is going to be whatever you have for max town size on the create towns command. In this case, that would be 60. Small town, the minimum and maximum size are 3 and 8. In Old West town, minimum is 1 and 4 is the maximum. So small towns will be between 3 and 8 tiles, and Old West towns will be between 1 and 4 tiles. You can also use any on the minimum size. If you do, then the minimum size is going to match whatever you have for minimum town size on create towns. In this case, that's 3. Note that if you set a number, that is going to override that minimum town size on create towns. So even though minimum size is 3 on the create town command, because this has 1 and this has 7, those are still the minimum sizes for those towns. It will only apply if the word any is used instead of a number. Note that Teragon is going to use the maximum possible town size whenever possible. That means that a small town will almost always have 8 tiles. It's not going to be random between 3 and 8. The only time it will be less than the maximum size is if there's no space due to terrain or other towns or some other factor that keeps it from having the full size. The next parameters are center and outskirt. The outskirt area includes all tiles that are touching the wilderness, even if only the corner of the tile touches. And the center includes all other tiles. Create Towns does let you change the width of the outskirt. By default, it's only 1 tile, which means every tile does touch the wilderness area. But if you increase the width, then the outskirt will include all tiles that touch the wilderness, plus a certain number of rows in from that point. So width of 2 will include the tiles that touch the wilderness, plus 1 more tile wide inside of that. And then the center area will be everything else that's inside of the outskirt area. These are used to define the districts that are used. So for example, regular town, the center area has 3 districts: downtown, commercial, and industrial. And the outskirt has 3 districts: rural, residential, and country town. Only those districts will appear in outskirt or center for that town type. Small town, on the other hand, only has outskirt because it is too small to have a center area. And the districts are residential, country town, and country residential, which is different from what was in regular town. And Old West Town has just one district in the outskirt, which is Old West, so only the Old West tiles will appear on the Old West Town. Generally speaking, if your max size is 8 or less, you don't need to include a center area because the town won't be large enough to have a center area. If the max size is over 8, you should have a center area set up. Not having a center set up on a town that's larger can leave that center area to be empty with no tiles or POI. The next parameter is layout. This determines how the tiles are laid out, what kind of tiles are used. There are 4 different layouts. Grid, which will create a town that uses intersection tiles only for the center, and the outskirt will be mainly corners and T's to create that grid look. Keep in mind that although this makes it easier to drive through the towns, it also means that certain POI and tiles will never appear in the town. For example, there are 2 factories that are on the industrial cap tile, and on the grid layout you will never see that industrial cap tile, so those POI will never be on your map. If you want to have the best chance of including all POI on your map, you can use one of the maze layouts, 1, 2, or 3. Each of these are a little bit different. They'll have either more corner tiles, more T tiles, or more straight tiles in the center area, depending which one you choose. You can test each one, find out what one you like the most, and then use that for your towns. Combined with layout is this extra link parameter, which uses a value between 0 and 1. If set to 1, it's the same as using the grid layout. If set to 0, it's the same as not using extra link at all. The closer the number is to 1, the closer the layout will look like a grid, and the farther away it is from 1, the less it will look like a grid. For example, if you're using a maze layout that creates a lot of north and south straight tiles, a higher extra link will turn some of those tiles into T's or intersections to create more east and west links or connections between the tiles, which will make it more grid-like. Generally speaking, a value between 0.2 and 0.4 will give you the best results, but you can adjust that and see what works best for what you want to see in your map. The next parameter is gateway. Gateway determines what gateway tiles are used for that town type. If you don't use the gateway parameter, then only the vanilla gateway T tile will be used. If you want to use other gateways, you need to list all gateways that you want to use in the gateway parameter for that town type. And this can include custom gateways as well as vanilla gateways. If you look at Old West Town, it uses 3 gateway tiles: the vanilla T, straight, and straight 2. The other town types use some more, such as straight 4 or intersection 2. And whatever you have there is what can be used for the gateways for that town type, and each town type can have its own list of gateways. For example, if you create a gateway that is designed for Old West towns with a dirt road instead of the normal paved road on the gateway tile, you can have that tile only spawn on the Old West town and not on any other towns, and you can keep all the other gateway tiles from spawning at the Old West town so that it looks more natural. The next option is max spawn. Max spawn lets you create a maximum number of times that town type will spawn on your map. So if you want Old West Town to only spawn 2 times on your map, you can add max spawn 2, and then only 2 Old West Towns will appear on your map, but you can get more regular town and small town on the map. Keep in mind that this does not guarantee you will get that number of spawns. Depending on your terrain and size of your map, you may not have room for that many spawns. Also, this parameter applies to each time you run create towns. So if you use more than one create towns command, each time you run it, you can get up to that max spawn, which can give you a total number of spawns on the map higher than what you have listed here. The next parameters are weight, outskirt, and weight center. These let you bias or weight the districts that appear in that town, either in the center area or the outskirt area. For example, if we look at regular town, the center districts are downtown, commercial, and industrial. If we use 3, 1, and 2 for the values, that means for every commercial tile, you will get 3 downtown tiles and 2 industrial tiles. You should have an equal number of values here to match the number of districts that you have. So if there's 4 center districts, you should have 4 values here, separated by a comma without a space. Note that because of the random nature of generating these maps, it may not be exactly that ratio of 3 to 1 to 2, but it will be somewhere close to that. The final parameter is biome. This lets you have towns appear only in specific biomes, either one biome or multiple biomes. Biomes should be listed with commas and no spaces as shown. Note that if you use the biome command, the town type will only spawn in a single biome at a time. It will never cross the biome border. So even if you have a biome set for desert and forest, the town will only spawn in only the desert or only the forest, and never a combination of desert and forest. This is probably going to change in the future, but as of right now, it will only spawn in one of those. If you do not use the biome parameter, it can cross that biome border. Also, if you want to use the biome parameter, you need to make sure you go down to create towns, and where you have biome map name, which is optional, normally that would be left blank. But if you want to limit towns by biome, you need to make sure that you put your biome map name into the create town command like this, and you need to make sure that you've created the biome map before using create towns. If you forget to do that, then even though you have biomes set up, the towns will spawn in any biome. If you have any questions or need any help, please check out the chat and help channel on Teragon's Discord, and someone will be able to help you.